Well, good morning, one and all, and welcome back to Dragonborn Industries Painting Up the Monster Manual. We're on episode 67, Richard. I'm going to start by saying, how are you, Richard? Because there's a box just next to me, right here. I'm going to chat to them in a second. But Richard, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm ready for this piece of booby. Should be good fun.
Me too. And I'm scared and I'm nervous because we're trying new technology. We're hoping people can hear us. And we've got a guest. We've got Richard from...
we've got Ross.
From Airbrushing with Ross. From the AIRBRUSH company. There we go. First mistake done. Ross, how are you, buddy?
I'm well. I'm really excited about this, but I'm also bricking it. And I'm really glad, by the way. I'm not sure if you guys, anyone watching, saw with the photos and stuff coming up beforehand. They have dutifully provided me with a scale model, but half the size of the one that they're painting. Thus is the faith that they have that I can get something painted in the hour. So we'll see how we go with this size, even though mine's half the size of yours. But it's not how big it is, it's what you do with it that matters. And we'll see how well I can get this painted.
I disagree. It's about the size and the girth. It is all about...
It's all about wingspan. Yeah, you mean wingspan, yeah?
Yeah, it's all about stretching out the skin as wide as possible. But we're back. And we are here to essentially try and paint this up like normal in that 1 hour. But this week we are using airbrushes. And Ross is here to basically pick up on my bad habits and for us to listen to Richard's colour theory, because we're hoping to do a show in the near future where Ross is going to teach us, I think, about the 5 ways to spray from a water and about how to clean and use airbrushes and treat them better than I normally treat an airbrush. So, yeah, we're going to cover a little bit of that. But realistically, we were also needing to give you guys out there the regular content of what this dragon is all about. So, obviously, coming into this show, Richard from Warrior Prince 3D has printed these out. And I'm actually going to flick to my other camera now so you guys can see it, because this thing, as Ross says, is fucking huge. It's ridiculous. And, you know, we've gone old school D&D size in terms of printing them up. And Rich has been printing me a lot of big things recently that have been doing the rounds on social medias. And again, it's just a testament to your quality of printing, Richard. If people are looking to get 3D prints, where can they get them from, Richard?
They can get them from Warrior Prince 3D, your one-stop shop for all your 3D printing needs. You can find me on Etsy, Instagram, Facebook, over here with Dragonborn Industries. Hopefully soon on my own webpage, but, you know, we'll see how that goes in time. But yes, drop me a message if there's ever anything you're after. We handle everything from small tabletop, collectibles, statues, cosplay, ancient fucking dragons, do it all.
You absolutely do. And again, just thank you again for mainly having sent out so many prints to us for so many shows. It's still blows my mind that we're this far into this show and that we're at this point. But this creature today is a CR21 Ancient Black Dragon, which in the D&D 2024 rules, obviously CR21, your average party level has to be max of 20 for it to be what they call a leveled and fair fight. When we look at the big three, obviously we're looking at an AC of 22, which is natural armor. I don't think that's all that high for a CR21. However, the hit points, we are looking at 367, which could be 21d20 plus 147. I don't know how quick everybody can do maths here, but I'm not working that out. That's absolutely nuts how tanky this thing is. And when it gets to the damage dealing potential, these things are insane. Not only do they have the things like legendary resistances, multi-attacks, and it's 3 rend attacks, and it can replace one of its attacks with spell casting. These things are freaking horrible. They are just ridiculous. And
insane, some might say.
Yeah, we've got to try and paint one and talk about everything that's going on in here. So I'm not going to go on for too much longer without hitting the timer. But I suppose, what's everybody's plan of attack? Because I think I'm going to throw some contrast and some inks through an airbrush and hope that I don't spray too high a pressure on everything. What about
you, 15? Just keep it at 15. You're all good.
Let me knock that down from 40.
Yeah. Okay. So straight off the bat, before we get into that, airbrushing, when you're the air pressure you want is between 15 and 25 as a maximum. The only time you go anywhere near 40 and above is if you're spraying onto fabric, because it has to get in there and bond with the fibers. If you start putting your paints through your airbrush at too high a pressure, first it's going to the potential for blocking your nozzle is significantly increased, but also the faster the air is going through your nozzle, the quicker the paint is drying on the tip of the nozzle, which means you're again potentially going to damage or block the end of your nozzle. So 15 to 25 is the maximum. Otherwise, you're asking for a 40 quid bill for replacing the nozzle.
Well, there you go. So I've learned something already. So what's going to be your plan of attack then for going in on this beastie?
Well, I was going to wait to see what Rich was going to do and kind of emulate to the best of my ability. But I'm using just the Army Painter Air paints, so I'm going to be relying heavily on the fabulous triad system that they've got in making it look really professionally done while having next to zero talent when it comes to painting. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
So we're both relying on Richard here.
I would also like to point out right now that someone mentioned the word Richard and colour theory. They don't go together. Richard has no fucking clue.
Well, we'll find out. How are you going to approach this, Richard?
By the skin of my teeth and the jock of my strap.
Fair enough.
I've got literally a mirage of greens next to me that I am basically going to go through and pick out some bits and pieces where I'm going to go with the green. Going to be utilising ink, speed paint, contrast with a couple of nice Vallejo sickly greens, but I've also got the Army Painter Vibrant Greens, the War Paint Fanatic pack.
Okay.
Which I just popped open this morning, which has got some very nice electric lime sort of things and other bits and bobs.
Ooh.
So, I mean, Vivid Volt looks rather pretty. So I might even have a little bit of a play with them, but this is not going to get done in an hour. That is pretty much end of.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either.
What I wouldn't mind doing is having some good sort of base colours on the body and getting some nice sort of greens and bits and pieces worked into the wings, because the webbing of the wings, I'm going to have quite a bit of green on.
Yeah. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to start with, and I think we both said this just before stream, I'm starting with Orc Flesh as well. Do you thin down contrast paint through the airbrush?
No.
No, okay, right. We'll see what happens then, because I'm not used to doing that. I'm going to go in on the wing webbings and stuff like that first, and then I'm going to try and bring blues and black inks, mostly black, but with a blue drop in it, to then use that semi-opacity, hopefully, to then do the rest of it, picking up over this zenithal highlight. That's my theory. Whether or not that works.
The only time I do water down contrasts is when you want them with a little bit more transparency, and it tends to do great that way.
I'll also point out, before I hit the timer to go, the claws on this thing are sharp as fuck, dude.
They fucking hurt, don't they?
Yeah, that is my second set of gloves in about 5 minutes.
Testament to the quality of the print.
It's why I've not bothered today.
Oh, I can't have the paint on my hands. I'll just lose it. Otherwise, we've got an hour to chat about the stat block, about the lore of these creatures, and to try and show Ross that we can use these airbrushes to a professional standard and get something tabletop ready in an hour. And I guess we'll see what's going to happen. Are you guys... Oh, my God, the gloves are going already. Right, I'm going to get paint all over my hands. Are you guys ready to try and get this tabletop ready in an hour?
Rock and roll.
Let's do it anyway.
You've got an hour. Your time starts now. And as we begin, I'm going to start by saying hello to chat. Morning, Dibs. Morning, Bamasoth. Morning, Geeky. How are you all doing? I am just looking at chat, see what everyone said. Morning, all. Looking forward to this stream and getting some airbrush hints and tips for mine before I replace my Bart shop with the one from the airbrush company. Hey! Geeky Phoenix looking to replace... and I would suggest the Iwata. I'm currently using the Eclipse
Eclipse CS.
Yeah, which has been so far for me. I've used it a couple of times. I've taken it out on a few outings. I've been enjoying it. But Ross, where would you suggest for somebody to start? And Div says, trust the process and have fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a minefield trying to figure out exactly what the best one is. But that's why I kind of bang on about the 5 ways to spray from Iwata. Before you decide what airbrush you're going to look at, you need to figure out how you plan to use it. because there are so many different options and versions out there. It really is just about first figure out how you're going to use it. If you just want a workhorse that's going to do all of the things, then the Eclipse is the best way to go, because it's got a needle and nozzle set that's designed to be really versatile, and you get some really fine work as well as some really broad strokes, which is going to come into its own today when you're painting that beast.
Yeah, and I think already taking the orc flesh onto a very slightly zenithed underside of a wing, I'm already really happy with that.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I'm not surprised. That comes through beautifully, because you've got the versatility in that one. I'm using the Iwata HPB Plus, which I used on the YouTube recording with Rich last month. Oh no, month before last. Now it was in March. So this one is brilliant because it's got a really fine nozzle, but with a little bit of a pullback, I can get some decent coverage on there as well. Although I am starting to think that I may need a larger cup with the surface area that I'm covering here.
Oh, really?
So the HPB Plus, I'm not sure if you can see on my little camera there, has a very small cup compared to your 7mm on the Eclipse.
Yeah, that is some difference. Richard, what are you using?
The cup is brilliant for when you're doing the miniatures, like the actual figures for D&D, because it's really easy to do color changes and just quick clean outs between colors. It's a small cup, less surface area. I mean, it doesn't take a math genius to figure that one out.
Yeah, fair enough. Richard, which airbrush are you using?
I've got the Iwata Highline.
Oh, I see. And what's the difference there between? What's the special thing about the Highline then?
So with the Highline, correct me if I am wrong, Ross. It's I can even tell you actually because I've got the thing right here. So it's one of in the total control category. So it's a high performance plus. So it airs more towards like the fine and medium. So it's not extreme detail, but it's great for fine detail and for large coverage and medium detail, because it again has the larger cup as well.
His is the next step up from the one that I'm using, because the one that I'm using is also part of the Highline range, or the high performance range, I should say, which is thus the HP. But it's a brilliant option, and it has the one he has a micro air control valve just before the nozzle. I've got one at the end of my airline, so if I had to get in to do detail, I crank down the air pressure completely, so it's a gentle gust. But he's got one built into his airbrush.
So it's more of a finesse tool. His one then. It's like a high end. You can do everything from this side rather than from the other. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yes, but with your airbrush, with the Eclipse, you've got a much larger scope on the other end, on the wider side.
Yes.
But you've got probably half as much fine work from the Highline. So it's a much more precision tool.
It's still pretty precision for me. And I think that, like, realizing when I did the unboxing that it had like that really big wide line, and I'm using it quite wide at the moment to get the coverage on these wings, compared to like when you get really close and you can get like that graffiti style line in there. It's still pretty detailed. It's a good place for people to start. Hey chat, hey Dragon Skull, how you doing, bud? Good to see you in. Let's quickly chat about Black Dragons while we're here, Bo. So, the actual Richard, I mean, you've probably used Black Dragons quite a bit in your campaigns, I imagine.
I've used dragons a fair bit in my campaign, but I've not put down an ancient yet. They have seen a few, but
you've
nothing.
One.
They've not fought one yet.
So, obviously, Black Dragons and all the chromatic dragons, when we look at D&D, they do have a sort of like a hierarchy and they have different personalities. But when we look at the lore and what it says in the actual D&D 2024 about the Black Dragons and the Dragons of Decay and Despair, they're titled. Their habitat is a swamp and their treasure is relics. So Black Dragons delight in suffering and ruin, while other chromatic dragons scheme for power. Well, these dragons seem to tear down all they see and rule over what remains. Black dragons are terrifying creatures with curved horns and withered visages, suggestive of fiendish skulls. They typically inhabit stagnant swamps, crumbling ruins, and places of magical environmental corruption. Their acid breath scars their domains, eroding the features from ancient statues and leaving nature with festering wounds. Black dragons hoard tarnished symbols of hope and relics of fallen empires. The more sought after the treasure, the more the black dragon prize it, particularly if they were responsible for it being lost. So these things are the narcissistic narcissists of black dragons. They are like, I don't just want to rule, I want to ruin you, then I want to rule. They are really quite bad when you look at the reasons behind them and how you would play them. When we look at them as ancient, though, because obviously we start with wormlings and we work our way up to youngs and adults and go from there. But they also have, when they get to being ancient, things like a lair. And obviously layers give you more action economy with your boss fights. And an ancient black dragon is either a big bad of a campaign or a pretty hefty boss, I would say. But black dragons lurk in dismal ruins, polluted bogs, or other sites gripped by decay. The region containing an adult or ancient black dragon's lair is warped by its presence, creating the following effects. Acrid haze. Odorous and stifling fogs cover the area within 1 mile of the lair, rendering that area lightly obscured. Travel creatures other than the dragon and its allies take twice the usual time in that area. And then foul water. Water sources within 1 mile of the lair are supernaturally fouled. A creature that drinks such water must succeed on a DC 15 con save or have the poison condition for 1 hour. So already before you even get to the lair, get to the ruins, get to the swamp, you are getting those conditions put on you before you get there. So these things are going to be a slog to fight as it is. Richard, have you got the stat block with you there as well?
Bear with me, I'll load it up and I can go through a couple of bits and pieces.
Let's have a look at chat when we do that. So Fluffy, hey Fluffy, how you doing? You're supposed to be at work. Get off your phone. No, happy to have you. And
I was going to say, don't say that. That's one of our viewers.
That's my wife.
Don't get off your phone. Tell everyone at work to watch as well.
Yeah, do that. Then afternoon coffee. Good, thanks.
The thing I love about the black dragons, which is one thing I did use when I put one of the smaller ones in. So their traits, they are amphibious.
Yes, most dragons are.
So yeah, it's an interesting, fun thing to play around with, because obviously most people, when they think dragon, they think, oh, he's going to fly down on me. Yeah.
Also, I think you're right. You think they're going to like come out of the sky, swoop down, but actually having one in a lake that can burst out and be like, raw, here I am.
How to shit up your D&D party in one fell swoop.
Exactly that. How are you guys getting on paint-wise?
I've almost done the base coverage.
Let's start with Ross.
I'm not doing too badly. Thankfully, I hadn't yet fully attached it to its base, so I have more freedom of movement around it. But actually, I'm not sure if you can see it there. I've got a fair coverage with the green, just finishing off the tail, and I'm going to go over it again with an even darker green. I'm going to just kind of try and build up the dark layers, or letting the colour just sit in the recesses.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I think that's... Yeah, I mean, even just leaving it like that, you know what? Let's call it an ancient green dragon, be done, yeah?
No, we got those to do later.
No. I can't wait to see them, guys.
Oh, God, we got so many dragons to get through. How about you, Richard? How are you getting on?
Yeah, doing good. Getting some... I dropped a bit of ink into the orc flesh. It's going through quite nicely.
Nice. So mine, I'm just picking out the frills and the wings, and then I'm going to go in with my blacks and blues to hopefully get the rest of it done. When we look at dragons, there's a few different things as well that I really, really like. And the amphibious trait is one of them, Richard. I really do quite like that one. Hey, Dak, how you doing? The green dragon paint session. Yeah, this is actually the black dragon. And Richard's taken us through using greens to begin with and then bringing the blacks up around them. And Ross is going to show us how best to spray as we go along. But I really like, so yes, the amphibious thing, the legendary resistances. These are, I think, a key to a boss.
I love the fact they change whether it's on its Todd or in its lair.
Yes. So this again is something that I think is great about D&D 2024 is that you get 4 a day if it's on its own, or you get 5 a day if it is within its layer, which means that it is super. Dak, you're gaslighting me. I know the difference between a green and black. I get that. That ability to switch between them, though, I really like that, and it just means that you could fight it away from its home. Like, right, we know it's got 4 legendary resistances. Then all of a sudden, you're fighting it somewhere else, and you're back in its lair, and you're like, wait a minute. So I quite like that trickery.
Well, I suppose it's the at-home advantage, isn't it? It's like everyone's always more comfortable. They've got a lot more resistance when they know the ground that they're spending their time in.
Oh, it's exactly that. I think that is exactly why they get it, which is really, really cool. Then when we look at things, so obviously we've got the rend attack. We spoke about this earlier with their damage dealing capabilities, but the actual rend attack itself is a plus 15 to hit. It has a 15-foot reach. It does 2d8 plus 8 slashing damage, plus 2d8 acid damage. 3 of those, or 2 of them, and a spell attack. The spells that it can do are wild, so it can cast one of the following spells requiring no material components using Charisma as a spellcasting modifier, DC 21 to save, or plus 13 to hit. It has Detect Magic, Fear, Mel's Acid Arrow, level 4 version. It then has Once a Day, Create Undead, Speak with Dead, Vitriolic Sphere at 5th level. So all of the acid spells and all of the nasty spells that make this thing not just a beast, but something that could be used as a mage-like creature as well, or a hag, or something that's going to cause problems for the party in more ways than just hack and slash.
And also, dragons, always remember, dragons can use magical items.
Yeah.
As well as wear them and cast scrolls.
Yep. Absolutely they can. And the other thing that I really like that I haven't seen yet in this particular book is their ability to change into humans. It's something that they had, like human variants, so they could go between their dragon state and a more...
Only ancients could do that.
Yes, I think in 5e it might have been more than that. But as a GM, I like that dragons can change into, like adult dragons and stuff can change into humanoids. And I really quite enjoy playing with that.
As I say, that's what in mine, adults and ancients can change.
Yeah, it's a pretty... They're very versatile dragons, and I like it a lot. So
I just happened to finish watching the episode of The Witcher where he has I think it's like a bronze or a dragon kind of comes to help him find a green dragon who's just hasn't laid an egg. And he's first there as a human. I was like, that's an interesting concept. But I didn't realize that was a D&D trope as well.
Yeah. It's... I'm not sure which one would have come first. It's not really my...
Oh, no. I think it's just Witcher inhabits a similar world to D&D, so I feel like it's likely that they run concurrently rather than one borrowing from the other. But I just think it's a really interesting trope, and I didn't realize that D&D had that as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's definitely does. Hey,
unfortunately, D&D came first.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine so. I do see a lot of movies and TV shows that, while not necessarily a D&D related thing, they have borrowed heavily from the lore. Which is understandable when something's been building lore up in a fantasy world for decades. It stands to reason that you'd want to borrow from their hard work rather than having to spend decades trying to build your own before you can write your show.
D&D also did take from a lot of myths, legends, and natural lore.
I mean, of course, yeah.
100%.
It's not like they're the owners of all the creatures and stuff. They didn't invent dragons or dungeons.
No, but they do have the IP on gelatinous cubes and mimics.
I saw a really interesting thing about gelatinous cubes, that actually gelatinous cubes didn't start off as gelatinous cubes, but because of the spaces that they were inhabiting, they became cube formed. But if they spend a lot of time outside of a cubed or cavernous environment, that they may evolve to change shape again. It was a guy who was I can't remember. It was like an interview of the guy who works for what's the name of the company who runs D&D, Wizards of the Coast or something?
Yeah.
He works for them, and he said kind of it's interesting to think that actually gelatinous cubes weren't always cube shaped, and it's like, oh yeah, no, you're right, because why would they have evolved to be a cube unless they lived in a hallway about to be in a dungeon?
Yeah. Well, Dax says they did invent, however, the chromatic and metallic concept. Yes, they did, and I knew that, but I didn't have it at the forefront of my mind, Dak, until I started reading the Pathfinder 2e Monster Core, and I was like, where are the chromatic dragons? And then realized, oh yeah, that's a Wizards of the Coast trope, and they've actually changed in Pathfinder to things like the Empyrean Dragon, the Diabolical Dragon, the Adamantian Dragon, and it's really fucking cool, and I'm all about it because I'm a Pathfinder convert at the moment. How is everybody doing in chat today? Let's have a quick look. So we've got Siobhan in, we've got Geeky in, we've got Dragon School and people still there. If you have any questions about airbrushing, because I'm about to ask one in a second as well, do put them in chat and we'll put them to Ross and see what he says. Siobhan says, I've been doing a lot of research into what Wizards of the Coast own to see what I can get away with making. Yeah, and rightly so. It's especially with like the change of the OGL and stuff like that. Ross, I've now run out of using my green. I'm about to change to using a blue and a black ink. Do I clean this fully out, or do I rinse through? What's the best way to change color?
Now, ordinarily, I would say do a quick flush through and then get the new color in. But because of the nature of the work you're doing, and actually that's not a new color in a new area, you're doing a color blend.
Yeah.
Something I actually that I learnt from Rich was you don't always have to clean out between colors. If you're doing a color blend and it's part of the scheme, leave it with the residue in the bottom because it will help with the blend.
Okay, so we're going to do that then. I'm going to put a drop.
But if you're doing a straight change of color on a different area that you don't want that color in, then yeah, flush it through with some cleaner, or if you're really pushed for time, blast it with some liquid reamer, which is an aerosolized solvent cleaner.
Cheers, actually.
Or a hand grenade for cleaning your airbrush.
I love this stuff. So Dax says Pathfinder exists because 4th edition was so poor. Folks loved the 3rd and 3.5, but hated 4th support the most. Yeah, I did actually know that, which is kind of cool. But I'm really enjoying the Pathfinder 2e remaster. Very much so, in fact. And yeah. So I'm going to try and mix about 2 parts black to 1 part blue. Would you thin an acrylic ink?
It depends on the consistency, but as an ink, you're not going to need to because an ink is already a very fluid viscosity. So when you're talking about thinning, you're talking about making sure that the stuff going in your airbrush can come out again without causing damage on its way out. If you're putting paint through your airbrush that is too thick, you're basically kicking the door down from out the nozzle. So you do need to be mindful of the size of your nozzle versus the thickness of the paint. But generally, you want it to be just thicker than water. If it's syrupy, it's too thick, and if it's watery, it's too thin. You're trying to find a happy medium between the two.
Okay. Dak says I have to go.
Which I do cover. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Dak was just saying they have to go. They've got a game at 1. Dak, thank you so much for popping in. We'll see you real soon, I'm sure.
But yeah, I actually do cover kind of the best way to thin your paints on one of my Back to Basics courses. Then it's one of those things where people don't know what they don't know, and actually a short hour and a half just sat with me one-on-one can be the difference between I'm too scared to pick up my airbrush and I am absolutely in love with it and I can't believe I haven't used it more.
So you say you do one-on-ones?
It's one-on-one, hour and a half on site at the Airbrush Company just outside of Brighton in Lancing. They're hour and a half blocks. So I've actually got a model rail club coming to see me. So it's 4 of them. And we're going to be spending all day with me on the 6th, the day before I do the recording for the YouTube channel with Richard, in fact.
Nice.
So yeah, it's one-on-one. It's either you and me, or you. If you book it and you want a friend or a family member to join, they book themselves on as well, and then I give you all the kit you need, all the direction. You can try loads of different airbrushes, and then if you fall in love with a particular airbrush that you've used, we even give you a discount to buy stuff in our warehouse, which you have to walk through. It's like a candy store, honestly. Richard, you came down the other month. Walking from my office, my desk, I have to go through the warehouse to the training room without going, now I forgot we had those. It's honestly, if my job didn't provide me with the majority of the stuff I need for my newfound hobby of airbrushing, I would be bankrupt.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So it's only in person at the moment. Are you looking to branch that out to be doing it online as well, or is it just?
No, it does. It's online or in person. So online is they're 40-minute sessions because there's not quite so much hands-on stuff. But when you book it, I kind of ask you to confirm what airbrush you use or whether you don't use one at all. If you don't use one at all, the online classes are very difficult to do. But if you're already using one, you just want to use it better, then I grab one of the airbrushes that you're using and I kind of match up with what you're doing and talk you through it that way. But yeah, they're shorter blocks, but online are absolutely. In fact, the first one of those courses I ever did was an online course for a 16-year-old who his mum saw that was really talented and bought him some really decent kit, but she just wanted him to have a bit of guidance as to how to use it properly, which I was all up for.
So we've got a question from Dragon School Studios. Question: does Ross do one-on-one online? I need the beginner sessions. So actually, we've just answered that. So yes, you do.
Yes, I do. All you need to do, go to airbrushes.com, scroll down a little bit, and there's one of the squares on the left-hand side says courses. If you click on courses, the second picture is Back to Basics with Ross. Click on that, and then you just pick the online courses, and then it talks you through what we aim to cover. And then you can click on the link to go to the booking form and just tell me how many blocks you want, go back to the form and pay for it.
There you go.
Easy peasy. Couldn't be simpler. But if you've got other questions at all, you can just email me at ross@airbrushes.com and I can answer most questions. And if it becomes appropriate, then I can get you booked on your behalf.
Nice. So Dragon School is across the pond, they say, which I know where they are. They're in Ohio. So I assume it's just as long as they can fit around your timing, then that's the main thing.
Yes, but actually, as long as it's we're not talking like having to do it at 11 p.m. in the depths of my workshop, I can be flexible. So it's about, if you book on, chuck me an email, just let me know that you've done it, and then I can work it out. I can make it work because I have got courses booked up to be on a weekend. So while I would prefer not to have to, I am more than happy to be flexible if it makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's absolutely incredible. And it makes it more accessible, I think, as well.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the more people who get excited about airbrushes, the clearer it is that I've done my job, because my job is literally about getting people engaged with airbrushing and airbrushes in general. So, yeah. And quite frankly, the more you're interested, the more stuff you end up buying. So the more money that my company makes, and then the happier they are with me, and the more freedom they give me to do other fun stuff like recording and the like.
Yep, rightly so. Then you have asked for that website once more.
It's airbrushes.com.
Amazing.
And my email is ross@airbrushes.com.
I'll make sure that if, when this goes out on YouTube later today, I'll put a link to that in the description below so people can grab that nice and easily as well.
There is also some guidance you can glean from the YouTube channel at Airbrush Co Limited. So search Airbrush Company Limited on YouTube, and there is a video that you'll recognise Richard from, and we'll be there's some guidance there as far as some spraying and cleaning and breaking down of airbrushes and stuff.
Nice. That's kind of what we're after and what the selling USP is, I think. To which end then, let's get back to chatting about the dragon for a little bit. Richard.
Yo.
How would you implement a dragon like the Antient Black into a campaign?
So it is one thing that I say been putting a lot of thought into, because it's hard, especially because then you've got to go high level with it. It would have to be complete environmental because you do want to make sure people have got a chance to take something on that's flying. But at the same time, you really want to eat the living shit out of them all. So it depends if any of my players are watching, but I've got a couple of big fights coming up in one of the campaigns, and one of them is at the top of a mountain peak. But basically, it's a vast mountainscape city that get attacked by an ancient-sized dragon. So it's navigating the peaks, utilizing sort of spells, and also certain bits of technology because it's going to be a dwarven city.
So you take it out of its regular like swamp and ruins environment and put it into ruins in a mountain then?
Yeah, because it'd be that sort of thing of swamps aren't always as fun. You can do some nasty stuff in the swamps, and the problem is again, you do want to try and give them a chance because I find it quite easy to rinse and kill someone in the swamp, if that makes sense.
Yeah, things like difficult terrain and stuff like that can really hamper a player.
Difficult terrain, bog. If I was going to be a bastard, I would do it smack down in the middle of a massive bog, very little cover, and I'd also have creatures under the surface, basically.
Yeah,
as well as the dragon.
Well, I think that's the other side of that. Is because they have things like create undead, and they are supposed to be, all about ruin, decay, and undead. Like you could have like zombies and stuff like that running around with them. I really like the other bit that could fit with what you were just saying there as well, which is during their legendary actions, because it gets 3 legendary actions or 4 in its layer, which you can immediately use at the end of somebody else's turn. Cloud of Insects, which is a DC 21 saving throw, or the one creature the dragon can see within 120 feet. Failure is 33 or 60-10 poison damage, and the target has disadvantage on saving throws to maintain concentration until the end of its next turn. Failure or success, the dragon can't take this action again until the start of its next turn. That is great against your spellcasters.
Yep.
Which
apologies, Jed. My camera has been rumbling because every time my compressor gives a bit of a blast, it rattles the my computer or something, and it makes it cut out. So apologies if I do cut out. It's a compressor and laptop combo.
Yeah, it will be a circulation of power. I get it with the mics in this room. That's why I've had to switch to a different one. It's all right. We'll know that you're still there if it goes. We'll get you back. Don't you worry. So
no drama.
I mean, Ross, do you get to play much D&D, and have you faced a dragon or a black dragon or anything like that in your games?
Yes, and potentially about to. We're doing. I am playing D&D. I've been playing D&D actually for maybe 3 years. I previously played things like Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse and the like. But the campaign we're playing, we've just started a new campaign because we finished the old one, and we're on a dragon island. So it was like the island is meant to be basically built on where the place where an ancient dragon died, and yeah, so I think we may face dragons at some point on this campaign, but I'm not sure. It would be a shame if we didn't, I suppose.
Get all there.
That would be me too tempted to be the bastard DM and give you something completely the opposite of dragons or completely irrelevant to dragons.
Yeah, I think, and he not to cast aspersions towards my illustrious GM. Please, if you are watching this, don't hate on me. But he has definitely got the tendency to be a bit of a bastard if he gets the chance. But it's in a fun way, not in a I don't want to play anymore way. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of every couple of Thursdays. In fact, I'm playing this evening. It's brilliant. I've got space here, so they're coming here to play. And honestly, it's absolutely brilliant. It just gives me an excuse to just chill out a bit for the day, for the evening.
Well, it's escapism, isn't it, really? And it's kind of what we're after a hard day's work. And Yeah, tabletop games are the best. And having something like this, which is a horrific model to throw down at players, I'm all about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right, I think I'm erring on the side of blacker than you guys potentially. Where's my camera? So I've gone over it again now with a darker green, just kind of building up those layers. But I think I need to maybe, like you've done there, maybe focus a little bit more dark on the tendons between the skin on the wings. Maybe that's going to be a better way. Oh, so would you suggest maybe making the space between the wings a little brighter and a little more obviously green? Because I'm aiming more black, but maybe I want to have a little bit more of the green showing through than I'm otherwise doing.
I was going to say, I was going relatively light on the webbing for the wings and lighter on the tips of the wings.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
That way.
So I may do that with a green highlight in that case.
I'm just praying and spraying and hoping for a decent blend, if I'm being honest. I put too much blue in the first one. Hey, Spice, how you doing? Welcome in. Happy Thursday. It's interesting as well, because obviously, like, I'm doing a thing where, like, obviously, like, I do small little bursts with the trigger to try and dry it. But then I've also had, like, big areas here where I've just gone, fuck it, and done a big spray. And now I'm waiting for it to dry.
And that's the thing. And with a reduced air pressure, it's also sending out less paint, so it dries quicker.
Yeah.
So if you're finding that when you're spraying, it's taking ages to dry, crank down the air pressure by a PSI or two. Because you can get away with spraying at 15 and it may be even a little lower. And sometimes when I'm going in for the close detail, as I said earlier, I'll use my micro air control valve and I'll bring it down a peg even more so. So if you're finding that you're doing large coverage areas and then they're taking ages to dry, bring your PSI down.
Okay, let's do that. So, any other questions? So, question, is there a certain airbrush or needle size for small miniatures or detail work?
Yes and no. It really depends on how much fine detail you want. It's why I use the HPB Plus, because it has a 0.2 needle and nozzle on it. Essentially, the smaller the aperture, the smaller the line. But that's only when you get down past the like 3s and 2s. With the Eclipse, because of the needle that the Eclipse use has a much longer taper on it, so it engages with the nozzle a lot sooner, allowing for a much finer line than you would get with a 0.3 nozzle on a lot of airbrushes. Because in actual fact, the needle that Rich has in his the needle and nozzle on the high line that Rich uses is a 0.3 and the Eclipse is a 0.35, but they can actually probably both achieve a very similarly thin line. But because the high line has got a slight taper on the needle as well, it balances and makes it more worthwhile with the real fine detail work. But honestly, if you're not certain about how much fine detail work you want to do, go for something like the Eclipse, either the CS or the BS. The BS has a small cup like this one. If you're doing small miniatures, you want a small cup to really get in with the fine detail. But really, go find somewhere who have them on demo and just get using one and really kind of see the difference between it. Because honestly, the amount of stuff I could tell you means absolutely nothing until you've got one in your hand. You can see what I'm talking about and feel it.
I'm inclined to agree with that comment as well. I think that obviously I was using dirt cheap airbrushes for a long time, getting them all clogged up and stuff because I just mistreated them.
Really upset me. Really upset me. I think, and I think you remember you referencing me telling you off and sending you a new one.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. And the difference in quality already alone, just spraying, is massive. Like I can really tell the difference already, and that's not me trying to be like, thank you for sending me a product here, let me say nice things. I'm very much like, no, this is genuinely a better tool, has made it easier to do things.
And ultimately, I mean, there is still and always will be a place for those real basic run-of-the-mill kind of your cheap 20 quid. I want to see if I'm going to be any good at using an airbrush before I actually spend the money. But it's like in the same, you wouldn't take an F1 car to the shops, but you wouldn't take a Ford Focus around an F1 track. It's kind of get the right tool for the job that you're doing.
Yeah, it definitely shows. It's absolutely. I was amazed at how quickly I got the difference between like, oh, that was a machine-made, very cheap jobby, and this is something that's been thought about in its construction.
Yeah, and the higher end you go, the more you can really see that difference. I have a demo model of one of the custom Micron airbrushes, the Takumi custom Micron. So it's a side-fed 0.18, so that's less than a 0.2, so smaller than this one, but I can get some real hairline work with it. But because of the side feeds cup, while it is a very, very good versatile airbrush for the detail stuff, it's an absolute bastard to clean. So I only use it when the outcome is more important than the spraying itself, because if the final product is the main thing that I really need to focus on, then I'm willing to kind of put in that, you know what, I'm then going to have to go through the cleaning of this. But yeah, it's, again, you wouldn't take an F1 car to the shops, so it's about using the right tool for the right job.
And rightly so. I think Dragonball says, Ian, if you remember correctly, I have the airbrush that you're using. Oh, cool. So, yeah, you picked up the Eclipse CS as well, didn't you? When you were at Adepticon, I think it was. Which I hands down think this is really, really good. I genuinely am like, I'm enjoying this. So
glad to hear it. Very, very glad to hear it.
Yeah, and it's nice that the tool is the reason I'm enjoying it. It's not just like the accessibility to it. I'm actually literally going, I enjoy the tool. How are you guys getting on paint-wise? I'm at this point now where I have to consider details. Oh, Richard, let me bring you up nice and big.
That's not fair. I'm almost offended by the quality of what you've managed to do.
Okay. No, I want Richard. Solo layout, there it is. Is that just black and green?
Black and green, and that's speed paints and inks.
Yeah. Speed paints are something I really do need to get into getting hold of. I think we do have some of our army paints.
They are very different through an airbrush.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, Rob, how are you getting on?
Me? Well, hang on. Let me give you my full face so you can see it a bit clearer. So the lighting here is terrible, but I'm just going to give it a bit more of a punch on some of the darks. But I don't know, considering you guys are far more used to using them. I don't know. I'm happy-ish with that, but I think over the coming the rest of the day today, I am going to be doing this completely. This is all I'm doing today now.
Nice.
So get as ready as I can, and then detail it. But what would you suggest I need to focus on next, or now?
So this is where I'm at as well, because actually I'm at the point where like I've gone through all the blacks and the blues, and I've added the greens in and tried to create somewhat of a darkened area. But now I need to like consider picking out the details of like the eyes and the frills and how to go about doing that, which is new territory.
And honestly, this is the point where I would go, you know what? Now's probably the time to use a paintbrush. Because an airbrush is fantastic for doing an airbrushed model, for doing the airbrush effects on model. You can't dry brush with an airbrush. You can get close to the effect, but you can't dry brush with an airbrush. There are certain things that a paintbrush will always have over an airbrush, but equally there are things that the airbrush has over a normal paintbrush. It's not about using one or the other. It's about using them both in conjunction with one another at the time where it's appropriate.
I couldn't agree more. So, Richard, how would you layer this up?
In what sense?
Well, we're at the point where we've definitely got base layers on of the blacks and the greens. Are you going to try this with something else? Are you going to how are you going to pick out the horns? What are you going to do? Are you going to airbrush the horns? Are you going to...
I'm not going to airbrush the horns. I'm going to bleach bone them out, because in all the pictures I could find, the Black Dragon's horns are always a different color. So they're always like they are a bone or a horn color. So I'm probably going to go in with them and basically sort of either brown them out or bone color them out and build up from there. Usually on bigger models, I do black talons, but I'm tempted to even go possibly with similar sort of bone color on them. Definitely want to pick out the mouth. And I'm probably going to go in with a dry brush on the face as well.
What are you going to dry brush with?
I'm considering blue, grey, and green. Just because I've got a cool effect on some of the scales where the directionality I've gone, I went over quite thick with some of the green and bits and pieces when I had a bit left in the pot. I did a large amount of dark green, and then I've sprayed black in the direction so that the edge of the scales are green, but the rest of the scale is black. So went with it, which is has added to quite a nice effect. And I've left some of the spinal ridge with a dark green. Yeah. I might be inclined to go through with a slightly blue-grey dry brush just to bring out some of the lines on the scales, but go in the direction of the black and not the green.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm contemplating now, is doing like a deep grey or maybe a black with a little bit of blue. Or
how long have we got left on the timer?
17 minutes.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, I'm going to be tabletop ready.
You know what?
Right, you know what?
You say that, I think you could throw these down on a table and be like, that's a black dragon.
Yeah, that's true. And I think I showed you with some miniatures, sometimes not having the detail doesn't matter initially, but then you can just spend the time. But yeah, I think you've certainly got I think you've got the contrast really well, and you can absolutely see that you've used airbrushes and you've been painting miniatures because you've got the idea with the kind of the contrast between the colors and kind of making sure that the blend is just right. And yeah, I mean you can see that very clearly with your miniature there. I say miniature. It's miniature as far as dragons, but not miniature as far as anything.
It is considered a miniature because the fact is it is 32mm scale.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's yeah, and like when we say miniature, like I'm literally sat at a table where across the other side of it, I'm still looking at a mech and a fucking Kyoko, like just staring at me. It's like bigger than my torso. But that's still a miniature. All Warrior Prince 3D.
I still love those two. I'm so glad they've been able to be shown off.
I'm elated with them. I think they're fucking incredible. I think I'm going to start with a deep grey, and I'm going to put that on the horns as a dry brush. And I'm going to try and bring in, just like the picture, like a kind of like a white grey element to those horns. Whether this works or not is a whole other story.
Amen to that. The best laid plans of mice and men and all that jazz.
Gang off galley for promised joy.
And whoops, I did it again, Britney Spears.
Right. Also want that on the face a little bit. I really want to get those like bright green Tesseract glow style eyes in as well.
Yeah, that's going to be, I'm going to have a look at, when you do that, I would be really interested to see how you went about it, because yeah, that's certainly something that I'm looking at doing. I've got a few Dragonborn miniatures that I've been painting that I could definitely do with probably redoing their eyes a smidge.
So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start that now, because I'm going to do something that I always do in the last few minutes of the show. Is something I shouldn't do, and try and rush.
In the last few minutes, yeah.
I'm going to put a white in on the eyeballs themselves. I'm then going to put a yellow dot in there as well. And then I'm going to try and airbrush a tiny amount of Tesseract glow to give it like a glowing acidic eye.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that.
That sounds really pretty.
And even at the size, these eyes are fucking tiny.
Yeah, that would be one. Turn your pressure down for.
So what I've done to kind of get the horns blended is I first kind of painted over on it with a bit of skeleton bone. I've painted the horn with that, and then I've mixed a bit of the skeleton bone as well as a bit of charred bone with some of the green, so that when I've blended it, it's then it's coming up quite nice as it's kind of blending into the green of the head itself, so that it looks like it's coming out of the flesh rather than just sitting on it, which seems to be. Yeah, I'll take some actual photos so you guys can see exactly what I've done with this. But because the webcam isn't quite up to scratch.
No, and StreamYard as well. We're only streaming at 720, so it's not going to show you the be all end all. But
yeah, but some of the detail I've managed to get on this, I'm quite pleased with. All things considered.
But for saying this an hour as well, you've got 13 minutes left. And so what we will do is we'll also take pictures for everybody as well, and we'll put them up on Instagram this afternoon of where we were at the hour mark. So do take pictures, Ross, before you get to finishing it for the rest of the afternoon.
With it.
And see, just to say this is what we did in an hour. Do you think it's tabletop ready, kind of thing? Because we'll be doing the same thing for all of our socials as well. Right. I do, however, now need to flush through. And are you saying just use the airbrush cleaner and flush through so I can get the next color in?
Yeah, so what I would say first of all is put some cleaner in, grab a little cleaning brush and give it a blitz. Just really kind of put a bit of cleaner in, give the sides of the brush a blitz, just make sure that you haven't got any excess paint up on the sides.
Yeah.
And then dump it out because there's potentially dry paint in there and you don't want to send dry paint through the nozzle.
Okay.
Put a bit more cleaner in and then spray it through.
Okay.
And then make sure you put water through afterwards.
Water through as well?
After the cleaner, you want to wash the cleaner through. Otherwise, you put cleaner in your paint and then it will strip off the model.
Otherwise, sometimes one flush through won't do it. So then if you've done it with cleaner, do it with water. If you've then just done it with water and it's still not spraying clear, do one more with a little bit of cleaner and then always neutralize it. It's like with anything cleaner that you're putting through, always neutralize it at the end.
There you go. Another lesson learned. Always neutralize.
Kill that motherfucker.
Right, I'll grab some water then.
You can tell that we're all then going to have gone into concentration. Let's get this as good as we can mode, because it just went radio silent. And but I definitely think that I'm fairly comfortable that this is going to be at the very least tabletop ready, even if it's not painted to the standard that I would like it to be painted at.
Same. Absolutely the same.
But that's literally the point of the show, isn't it? It's getting it tabletop ready, not getting it finished.
Exactly that. I do need to put a little bit more grey onto that face, just so that when I spray my Tesseract Glow, and you've got just shy of 11 minutes, guys.
I mean, thanks.
Really want to show up on those highlights and that dry brushing. Do you guys think you'll be tabletop ready then?
I think I'll have to let your viewers be the judge of that, because they've seen a lot of models from you guys, and so I think I'll have to put it to them to decide whether it's tabletop ready or not.
For me, it's not quite tabletop ready. I'd need to finish the face. I'm mainly trying to focus on getting the skin to how I want it, and the wings to be nice and slightly patchy, so it does give the almost slight visual interpretation of slight transparency in the actual webbing.
Oh, you're going all technical on us now.
No, I learned these words today.
You only just started learning to read.
Didn't know you could read.
Right, that's why I audiobook. I don't fucking read.
That's what the Starfinder podcast is for.
And which you haven't, if you haven't tuned in, you fucking should.
Oh, thank you.
Fucking epic. I am now up to episode 32.
You have to listen. You're a sponsor.
33.
So,
And I am fucking loving it.
the face is dry brushed up and ready for a little bit of Tesseract glow. This is where it could all go wrong for me.
Remember to turn your pressure down.
Turn the pressure down. What to?
Just drop it to like 15.
Oh, I was
You're already on. Then drop it down a
10 if
little
you are.
bit further, maybe 10, 12, somewhere between the two.
Okay.
I will say that is the one thing I love about this thing here. When I turn it and I can just literally just turn it so that the pressure goes down.
The micro air control or MAC valve, yeah, it's if you don't have one built into the airbrush, it's not important because you can get them separate. Which is I've got an end of line micro air control valve, and it really does help.
It, twist the air stoppy bit.
Okay. We've turned the pressure down.
Dun dun dun.
Test to make sure we're not spitting. Oh, God. I need to pick this up in a way that I can get to it at the right angle without poking my eye out.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you can get it to the right angle, or you can get not to poke your eye out. There is no between. The amount of times I've poked myself in the face with the wings or the tail is, yeah, I would.
The little one.
Yeah, that's true.
I will point out how forgiving the airbrush actually is. Like, I'm doing a really finite area on the face, and I'm not too worried about overspray because I've got my distance just in, and it's not spitting everywhere, and it really is quite focused on a point. It's like that was right in the eyeball there, and I had to move it to get around it.
Yeah, and that's the thing to keep in mind is if you've got the right bit of kit, it will do the job you need. So, which is why I always say when someone says, what airbrush should I use? It's like, I can't answer that question until I know how you plan to use it. Because, yeah. Just like I wouldn't use a fine line work just to do primer.
There you go.
Fuck yeah.
Get the angle right so the camera can pick it up. But
So, Ian, how did you achieve this effect?
I quite literally painted the eyeball white, put a small dot of yellow into the center of it, and then hit that with Tesseract Glow through the airbrush at 10 psi. Very close and very, very controlled bursts, like really minute bursts.
That's an absolute thing of beauty. Good work.
So I'm actually going to take the Tesseract Glow and I'm going to hit bits of the wings and the spines with it as well. Mainly because I've got some in the airbrush and I need to use it.
So why not? Instead of dumping the paint, use it.
Yeah, exactly that. And I really want those spines because I think in the actual Monster Manual book as well, they're very green in places. And just like Richard, I'm trying to get the tops of the wings. So where the light would be hitting. Raised areas. I think I definitely shouldn't have glued mine to the base. I should have left it open to be able to dry brush the base afterwards.
That was my thinking too. So I did remember to not glue it to the base just yet. But I feel your pain, because that would have been an absolute pain otherwise.
I don't think it'll be too bad, but I could have been smarter.
It could have been easier.
And I think is that part of the process that you guys do as well? Do you plan out your painting way beforehand, or like me, do you just go?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I plan how I'm going to start, and then I see where it takes me, because sometimes, and I know this is really cliched, but sometimes really good results will happen completely by accident.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so it's kind of just letting it happen and seeing how it goes. Right, I'm going to give it a little slight dusting of a light blue, actually, just on some of the light points, but not like a real coverage. So what I'm going to do, which is something that you with any standard paint, some people say always use a washer and ink, and which if you can do, but what you can do at a push is crank down the PSI and just thin the paint more than you normally would. So I'm adding a little bit of the blue to some of the dark green and hoping that works.
I'll tell you what, Tesseract Glow's a freaking amazing highlight colour over the other greens.
Just a bit.
Oh, I realised I'm still on solo mode. My apologies, guys.
That's all right. Means that no one's seen me nearly drop my miniature 3 or 4 times in the last 10 minutes.
I tried to plan mine, which is normally great, until the first brush stroke. Yeah, exactly that. It's quite literally a... I'm with you, Ross. I think that like the best paints can come from accidents.
All my paint jobs are accidents.
Yeah, but all your accidents are at a fucking pro level, prick.
I wouldn't fucking
there's a difference between you having a happy accident and us having a happy accident. You having a happy accident is from professional to semi-professional. Ours is good to...
Yeah.
I'll say ours, mine. I'm definitely kind of on a different tier to you guys, because however much you're being self-deprecating, Ian, you have done an absolute blinder with that one. I'm very impressed and very jealous that I didn't think of doing that for mine.
Well, I will take the compliment and thank you very much, and I will nom that down, because I am such a needy individual that I need the compliments. However, I'm actually relatively pleased. For an hour, I'm fucking well happy.
What have we got on the timer?
34 seconds.
Oh, you know what? I was going to try and put a little bit of detail in the mouth, but I'll do that another time.
I won't get that in 20 seconds either. But
yeah,
I'm fucking tabletop. I would like to get the mouth to be fully tabletop ready, but I could happily fucking throw that down, and I'll go solo in a second again. But yeah, like that, the idea of doing the blue-grey on the horns and the face from earlier on, that's time, gentlemen, paintbrushes down, has really made a difference to like pulling out those final details. So, Ross, in terms of airbrushing, obviously you've been watching Richard and I. Richard clearly knows what he's doing, but like, what would you pick up on during that to be like, okay, well, this is where to go from next, or where to begin, or where to start for us?
The only thing that I would have noticed is don't be scared of it. Don't be scared of the airbrush, because sometimes on the approach, and I've been guilty of it as well, is that sometimes when you are approaching a model or something, you've got your airbrush, you're like, I really hope this doesn't fuck up. Just chill, because ultimately, if you overspray or whatever, put it down, get a paintbrush with some water, you can erase it as long as you get at it quickly. Don't be scared of your airbrush. If you go at it with confidence rather than being tentative, the results will always be better, because tension in the wrist is the worst thing in the world. Because if you're there like this, then you've reduced mobility here, which means that what you're putting out is going to look stammered and stilted and jittery. So yeah, relax, have fun with it. Don't be scared, because ultimately it's just painting. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. To which end then, let's see how you got on with your mini within an hour. Do you think you're tabletop ready? And let's see what you did.
I think I've done all right.
See, I really like that we've all gone with those greens powering through.
I think what I will do after, I did put some stuff on the horns and some of the claws and stuff, which I've done in kind of a bone color. What I think I may well do is focus more kind of these bits being more a dark green, and putting a little bit more of the kind of the black through it, and then putting the lighter green on some of the highlighting points. But actually, I don't think anyone would argue that that's a painted model and tabletop ready. What do you reckon in chat? Do you think I've come up to muster with these guys, or do you think I've still got a lot more work to do?
Well, Dib says that, do you have another hour to paint? That could be a part 2 for this show. And there might be, Dibs. We're going to be doing another show with Ross, talking about the 5 ways to spray from Iwata. Siobhan says, I've heard airbrushes can sense fear.
They can. They can. They're like velociraptors. Your airbrush can sense fear, and if you approach it with fear, then that will show in what you put out. I'm not even joking. Just chill the fuck out. Honestly, it doesn't matter. And you treat it well, it will treat you well.
And we said that you've done a great job. Everyone seems to think that it's on there. Richard, let's have a look at what the master's done.
Who the fuck is that then?
You know. I mean, you know it is. Oh my god, that green is booty. What green is that?
That really pops. Yeah.
That was Vallejo green ink mixed with Absolution green and the orc flesh. I went to get the darker green. I went over with some of the ink and bits and pieces. But if I will tip the webbing with some of the lighter sort of more lime greens. I'm going to do the horns and the teeth, but other than a slight dry brush, I'm quite chuffed with that. I wouldn't be too embarrassed about putting it on a table.
No, I think it's incredible for an hour.
I'm going to be lazy with the base, and I'm going to PVA and marshy sand the fuck out of it.
Can I just ask though, as far as putting this thing on the base, is there a particular orientation that works best? Because I took them apart from one another to transport them without them falling off, but I can't remember exactly what way it's meant to sit on there. Is it just however it
you should have a little peg on the tail,
and that sits in.
There's a little hole in the front of the base. There's got an actual where this little rock here is.
Mm-hmm. There he is.
In front of it, there's a little hole with scale settings, so that the whole thing can be glued into there.
Thank you very much, sir.
As for mine,
is most helpful.
We have a majority.
I love that eye glow. That is beautiful.
Majority of black and greys from underneath. We're going to lighten up the horns. We've tried to get more green that's brighter on the webbing and on those horns. Siobhan says, fantastic job for an hour, guys. And Dib says, I'm seeing more green dragon theme going on with Ross and Ian's, though. It might be the lighting. And Dax back and says they all look awesome. And green, but awesome. Yeah. I think I definitely want to get back in with some more dark colours.
Black dragons do have a lot of green about them, though.
Yeah. But I'm really happy with that Tesseract glow, to be honest. I didn't think that would be my highlight colour.
I think you could do a video on its own of just using Tesseract glow, because I know for a fact that I would like to be able to see exactly what you did, because I was focusing more on getting the horns done than actually watching what you were doing.
Yeah,
so, yeah, you can do a whole video on that.
A happy accident. That's exactly what that was. But for 1 hour, I would put that down on the table and say, there's a black dragon. I'd like to get the inside of the mouth done, but you know what? For an hour, I'll take that. I'll absolutely take that. Otherwise, how about a day, sir? Love them giving me a good bit of motivation to use mine properly. Only used it to zenithal. Yeah, and actually, I would say I've used my airbrush to zenithal quite a bit, like my other ones that I mistreat. But I really like using crazy colors to zenithal with them, like doing like neons and stuff like that. Do you get a lot of that, Ross?
Yeah, and I think that we find a lot of people, when I say, how do you use your airbrush? Oh, at the moment, I just use it to do bases and priming and stuff. But it's like, fine. If that's all that you're comfortable doing at the moment, brilliant. Keep doing it, because the more you do that kind of stuff, you'll one day you'll be going like, you know what? If I just get in there a little bit more, I can just follow the line and give it a really nice line of highlight rather than just a general point of light. And then it's the gateway drug to actually getting in and doing, holy shit, I've just done this whole thing with loads of fine detail.
Exactly that.
So yeah, I hear that a lot, but I would just say, play with it. Get a miniature you're not that bothered about. Play with it. See how well you can do the block painting, the color blocks on it without masking, just using the airbrush. Rack down the air pressure before you get really up and close. That way you're not going to be blowing the paint everywhere, which happens. I did it twice with this thing. So just let it dry, let it sit, paint over it.
Yeah. But with that, we've got to end today's show. So thank you so much, chat. Thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe. There'll be links below to the Airbrush Company, to the videos that Ross and Richard have put out. Also, go to Richard's Etsy store. Use that code #ToTheStars. You'll get 15% off your orders. £20 and over, you'll get a Starfinder badge to go with it. Otherwise, thank you so much, chat. Thank you to everybody that's been here. May those dice gods be ever in your favor. You guys stay on StreamYard. We'll be back in just a moment. But to everybody else, have a great day.